before the policy framework, paper production in Nigeria had a relatively limited history. The country heavily relied on imported paper products to meet its needs. However, with a growing population and an increasing demand for paper, it became imperative to develop a local paper production industry. In the early 2000s, Nigeria began exploring opportunities to establish indigenous paper manufacturing facilities. Some private companies invested in paper mills primarily in the southwestern and southeastern regions of the country. These mills aimed to produce various types of paper, including newsprint, printing paper, and packaging materials. However, the paper production industry faced significant challenges that hindered its growth and sustainability. One key challenge was the lack of adequate raw materials. Nigeria's forest cover had been significantly depleted due to deforestation, illegal logging, and unsustainable logging practices. This scarcity of timber affected the availability of raw materials for the production of paper. As a result, paper manufacturers heavily relied on imported wood pulp, further straining the country's foreign exchange reserves. Furthermore, the paper production industry faced issues related to outdated machinery and inadequate infrastructure and limited access to capital. These factors impaired the efficiency and competitiveness of local paper mills, making it difficult for them to compete with lower-priced imported paper products. Recognizing the need for a comprehensive policy framework, the Nigerian government took proactive steps to address these challenges and promote sustainable paper product practices. What are the proactive measures? In the long run, how effective have these measures been on the paper industry in Nigeria? How conducive is the business environment for the paper industry and production? This is what we seek to find out on Policy Focus today. I am Chana Ejoga. Welcome to the program. We'll take a break. Stay with us.
Keep watching.
Keep watching.
Keep watching NIPSS Policy TV.
Welcome back. Before we continue on our focus today, here is the news update. The Inspector General of Police, Olukayode Adeolu Egbetokun, PhD, NMP, has called for the provision of adequate manpower, modern equipment, adequate funding, and the implementation of policies to help address the adverse effect of climate change. The IGP stated this during a paper presentation to the Senior Executive Course 45 participants at the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies, Kuru. The lectures titled Industrialization, Energy Security and Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation, the Role of the Nigerian Police.
In promoting industrialization, ensuring energy security, and supporting climate change mitigation and adaptation, the Nigerian government could consider the following: strengthening institutional capacity, so capability of the police. The federal government of Nigeria needs to enhance the recruitment of personnel into the NPF. The government also needs to develop long-term plans and budgetary allocations to address the issue of inadequate manpower and insufficient equipment in the police force. This entails allocating sufficient resources for equipment and infrastructure development over an extended period to ensure sustainable improvements.
The lectures titled Industrialization, Energy Security and Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation, the Role of the Nigerian Police, had in attendance the Director General of the National Institute, Professor Ayo Omotayo, the Secretary and Director of Administration, Brigadier General CFJ Odaya, retired MNI, the representative of the Director of Studies, Brigadier General W.D. Nasiru MNI, the Acting Institute Librarian, Mrs. Florence Adejumo, The head, Public Affairs Department, Professor Shola Adeyonju, PhD MNI, distinguished participants, and other staff of the Institute. While delivering his lectures, the IGP noted that the activities of industrialization, which leads to the occurrence of natural disasters, adds to the increase of struggle for limited resources and criminal activities in the country.
Industrialization and energy development projects often lead to rapid urbanization and population growth in specific areas. This can result in increased crime rates due to the challenges associated with managing a larger population, including higher rates of unemployment, poverty, and social inequality.
The IGP also stated that the police have the key mandate of the protection of lives and properties, maintaining law and order, enforcing regulations and public safety, the arrest and execution of crime actors in order to provide a safe environment for investment and the growth of industrialization. He therefore called for effective collaboration with key stakeholders, other regulatory agencies to provide adequate facilities, manpower, and implementation of policies that will address the effects of criminal activities associated with energy security and climate change. The Secretary and Director of Administration thanked the guest speaker on behalf of the DG and entire staff of the National Institute for delivering a handy lecture while also wishing him a safe trip back to base.
On this note again, I want to thank the IGP for coming. Thank you.
Chana Ijoga reporting for NIPSS Policy TV.
It's new, it's fresh. It's all about policies and strategies. Watch out for NIPSS Policy TV programs on NTA News 24. Tune in on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on DSTV Channel 419, GoTV Channel 26, Star Times Channels 101 and 433, and Free TV Channel 703. Miss this and miss out on policies that will affect you and our country. Join us.
The policy framework for the paper industry is aimed to regulate the industry, ensure the sustainable sourcing of raw materials, and promote environmentally friendly production techniques. The implementation of the policy framework involved collaborative efforts between the government, industry stakeholders, and local communities. It focused on promoting afforestation programs, waste reduction and recycling initiatives, energy efficiency, and sustainable forest management practices. The government also emphasized capacity building and awareness campaigns to enhance the skills and knowledge of industry workers and promote responsible practices. Today, our guest is the big stakeholder and manufacturer in the paper industry. Let me welcome Reverend Dr. Martins Olaomoju, Director, Bell Papyrus Limited, Bolus Group. We are glad to have you as our guest, sir.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, so let's start by delving into the topic for today, which is paper production policy. We want to look at the policy and how it has affected the production of paper in Nigeria. So if I may ask, what are the key objectives of the paper production policy in Nigeria?
Well, the basic thrust of the policy is to ensure that all the paper needs in the country is produced within the country. And with the long-term view of exporting to other countries in order to generate foreign currency. That basically is the point. And in order to do that, there are some objective of how you develop your forest, how you do the popping, the processing, how you do you convert to different kind of paper, then how you recycle, and create an environment where this process integrated can be sustainable.
Okay, that actually comes to my next question, which is how does the policy address environmental sustainability?
Well, when the policy was established very long ago, when the country was trying to build the integrated paper mill, the emphasis on ecology was not as it is today. It's a different paradigm now. Now that the whole world is getting to know that we've got to do something. Well, basically, there were some objective to get the ecology and the environment to be properly cared for so that they don't have negative impact. But beyond what we earmark, the world is a different ballgame now.
Okay, that's nice. Now, can you tell us, are there any regulations in place to control deforestation and promote responsible sourcing of raw materials for paper production in Nigeria?
The truth is that there are, but they are not very articulate. And the process, first of all, the whole policy of having to meet those demands has failed woefully. Today, we are almost 100% dependent on importation rather than exporting.
Yeah.
All the meal that were conceptualized with that policy and with that level of ecological protection, okay, fail. So when we say that, even the perspective of keeping the forest going and the kind of policy input at that time is one of the contributing factors that make it fail. So there were policy ecologically, but for forestry, but it's not working.
Okay, and that brings me to my next question. You mentioned is the forestry institution, and I wanted to ask that what part do they play in ensuring that sustainable growth of wood pulp, especially for wood pulp industries?
Let me also continue from there. It was government project since 1966. So the whole concept of what they wanted to do and the policy was government. So one of those things that was responsible for the failure is that even the trees that they planted, they found that they could not produce long fiber or various fiber as it were for the mill. So the machine could not actually give what was required, especially for paper, white paper. For white paper, and of course the one at Jeba, that's a brown paper. So it was a failure, whatever it is. So it's not working. So we need to rejig, and all effort has been in place to rejig it. We hope that one of these days will come together to get something done.
So looking at this policy now, can you tell us what are the strengths and its weakness? Because you just mentioned now that it failed. So in achieving that, so what are these weaknesses and its strengths? And like you said, how can we rejig it?
Nigeria has a good agricultural environment and there are a lot of biodiversity that could be worked on to ensure that whatever we need for pulp could be done, and it could be married with the current type of technology. Most of the technology that were procured then for those investments cannot meet today's requirement. The strength we have is that we have the the land, we have enough space to plant trees and all that. So what our weakness is the ability to be able to come with the kind of policy that can be actualized to ensure that our comparative advantage of the land can be used and married to a technology that will be able to get our output efficiently and, of course, effectively. Our weakness is that we don't have the technology. We don't have the management capacity to ensure that our comparative advantage is made use, especially landing, so that whatever we don't have in technology, we can exchange it.
Yeah.
And that's where we are. I think it's all course about management and leadership.
Management and leadership, that's one very key aspect when it comes to implementation of policies. Now, can you tell us what challenges does the paper industry experience in Nigeria now? Because you've mentioned some key areas that poses to be major hurdles or bottlenecks in paper production. So can you tell us what are those challenges that you as a manufacturer face in paper production?
The problem now is that for most of our input to the conversion, and what we are doing mainly now is conversion.
Okay.
We are not really producing pulp in Nigeria now because of the failure. So we import basically either the pulp or the recycling items to get this thing done. So the importation is huge. And of course, also because of the fact that we cannot produce even the paper, it's imported. So given the situation in the country of Forex, paper is becoming a problem. So our biggest problem is how do we produce pulp in Nigeria? And then when you look back also, how do you produce long fiber trees?
Yeah.
And beyond that, you don't even need to produce tree. Now there are herbs that can give long fiber. And
really?
Basic work is being done on that. But unfortunately, like it is, things are not put together. The farmers and the association are doing it. They don't have enough finance and enough exposure to be able to come with a big source and that is sustainable, that will be able to ensure that if you want to do your investment on that basis, you can be sure that you have enough input.
Okay. With what you have been saying so far, it seems that this is a very, very wide sector because it's interconnected to a lot of things. We are looking at recycling now, we are looking at technology, we are looking at other substitutes when it comes to paper production. Now, you said yes. So now that we don't have pulp in Nigeria, how do you think Nigeria can delve into other options that would help the paper production in Nigeria?
We have to look for how to get pulp because the main input. Now, getting pulp actually is a big work. It's also, if you're going to actually say you're going to cultivate trees now, you have a long years of gestation. If you are also going to say, okay, let's bring in technology, which you have to, it's also a lot of investment input.
Okay.
But there are, and if you actually also do saying, okay, you want the government to do these things, it may take years, and of course, it may come back to square one. What we could do is this: from the micro level, we can start to do a study of what tree we can plant that can give us long fiber. And rather than making it a big project that the government will just waste its time, we should make it small business. We only need to develop farmers with our research institute to ensure that they can produce these trees. So over the years, we know how many years we'll be able to have those trees. It's been done in another country where they just see the farmers, what they are doing presently, and research on what they want, and help the farmer to be able to produce this and sustain them is a heavy lot of employment source. Now, that's number one. That's the long term. The short term we have is that we have some herbs that some work has been done here and there in this side, and some farmers are planting it. Within a space of 6 months, you get this herbs grown. What we need to do now is to develop that one likely, because it's very easy.
Okay.
And it doesn't take much time. Then for the next thing we should do is we should look for comparative, we should look for equivalent technology.
Okay.
I'll source it out there to ensure that these herbs can be converted to long fibers.
Okay.
And we should build up a scheme to be supporting these farmers to ensure that they can improve on their capacity, on their efficiency, and you can train them to make life out of that. And of course, those long fibers should also be used. The kind of technology to produce pulp in that is not too costly. Of course, the pulp production requires a lot of energy, especially when you look at it from tree. But for herbs, the energy requirement may not be as much. So if we put our heart together, we produce herbs. We manage the farmers to improve on producing the herbs that can bring long fiber. The next thing we'll do is to marry with technology, get some people on the micro level to start to convert it to pulp. Why we are doing that is we may not be able to produce all the pulp we need from those, but it's something we can grow on. We still need trees in the long run.
Yeah.
So while we are doing the planting of trees, developing the wood, we are also doing this one that can keep the pulp available. And as the two develop, and you are married technology investment, putting it together, living on a micro level, it will grow. And then at the end of the day, we should come to a level where we can produce all the pulp that we need in the country. And having produced the pulp, all other product comes out of the pulp.
Yeah.
Talking about paper, pulp, what do you call it? Sorry. Bond paper, brown paper, carton paper, and all that. So when we start to do that on a micro level, we start to grow like that. Rather than leaving it to the government to go and do it, we can't get much out of it. We have to develop the micro farmers, make them to go up, get investment here and there, and help them like you are growing rice and all that. In fact, you can use rice.
Really?
Rice waste. That's the way I think we can go about it. But it requires a collective effort.
Yeah.
It requires leadership and management to be able to gather all these small enterprise and put them on that line. It requires a vision and a focus and commitment to ensure that where we want to get to, we get there. And I do believe that if it's left to this micro level, then you do business rather than there'll be less corruption, there'll be competition. And over time, we can develop a kind of an outfit that can support what we need in pulp, and maybe over time we export and generate dollar. But my advice to a manufacturer today is that if manufacturer will succeed in Nigeria, we must try to think beyond what we can sell in Nigeria, but make dollar out there. That requires that we have to be competitive. We have to be competitive with the world. But I believe very strongly that it can be done if we put our hearts together.
What is your opinion on the way forward? What else should we do differently to see that the paper production in Nigeria sails?
Well, I think where we have to come together, I think some of the times when we manufacturers go to the government, they will give us hope that they will do this and do that to get employment. But when is it time to do it, you see everybody withdrawing. You don't get results. I'll give you an example. One time when they are producing, they are supporting export, they give this EG, the observation. Somewhere, so we rejig all our operation to ensure that we can export. And they said they are going to give rebate. And it started well. Somewhere along the line, they just stopped it. So it just give distress to operation there. I mean, we are part of it. So there should be consistency. The government should know that if you are going to start a manufacturing process, it's a long-term investment. You cannot put things together and half of the way you change. It's going to be a problem. Look at the issue of gas, for example. When the gas was not selling everywhere, they were asking us to change our boiler to change. And then they said they're going to reduce the cost within some time. Not quite long, they just change the price and double it. It may not be their fault, you get what I mean? But why are you promising what you cannot sustain? So we need consistency. We need to think through what we are doing. We need to be objective. And we need to change our attitude to say that the manna is going from heaven. There is no free lunch on anything. So it's an attitudinal problem. Our problem is attitudinal. We can change it. Nigeria has capacity to get things done if the attitude change. So I think with good attitude, not only for the leader, but also for the follower, to ensure that we can work together and get our society, our economy, our security, everything fixed up.
That was a very, very exhaustive and extensive chat you've given us on paper production policy in Nigeria. Thank you so much for your time, sir. And we hope that you would always be available for us when we need you.
So it's my pleasure.
Thank you so much. We have been talking to Reverend Dr. Martins Olaomoju, who is the director of Bolus Group and Bell Papyrus Limited. And we have been discussing on paper production policy. We hope that with these discussions, we'll be able to deal with these bottlenecks and issues that is affecting the paper production in Nigeria. Well, this is the much we have on Policy Focus today. Do stay with us. More to come after the break.
It is very, very unfortunate that we import papers. I think Nigeria as a country, we have passed this level whereby we can be importing all these small things like toothpicks and other things. Papers is generally produced, I think, from trees. When you fell some trees, I think we can produce papers, but we have a lot of trees. We have a lot of forests. If you go to the forest of Wase in Plateau State, we have a lot of forests where we can fell a lot of trees and produce papers, but we don't do that. In order to stop paper production or to discourage the importation of papers, we should encourage in our offices for us to go digital and electronically, because once we usually employ this electronic system of file keeping, I think we are going to drift, we are going to deviate from the consumption of papers in our offices. I think we encouraging electronic offices. Electronic use of electronics in our offices is going to discourage the use of papers. The government of Nigeria, at the federal level, at the state level, and also at the local government, not just the government of Nigeria, I think even private sectors who are corporate organizations can also do that. We need to retrain and train our staffs regularly so that they can adopt to the globally acceptable standard. You understand, ba? Of bookkeeping and record keeping. That is the only way that we can achieve what we are doing. A lot of staffs, they are not technologically inclined. A lot of staffs don't even know how to use the Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, and the rest. So I think this is a negative sign, and this is going to be a major setback for the corporate organizations to implement that. But I think in order to get it right, the government must be ready to support these staffs with training and retraining, which is actually their right, because anybody that is working for you is expected that you should always train him so that you can always get the best out of him. So once the government train these people on the globally acceptable digital standard, then they should also support them by providing the necessary and latest gadgets.
But if we're going to stop the importation, then we need to actually create other opportunities or ways that people can actually communicate. The reason why we have paper is that people need to actually communicate their thoughts on a medium. Okay, so if that is going to be done, there are much more modern mediums like devices, phones, and computers and all that. So it's something that we need to look into as a country. How do we get citizens, much more exposed to using modern technology, and get us to be green? Because even with paper, for goodness sake, it messes up the environment. It's not properly disposed, it's not degradable, so it's actually an issue. Okay, so it's something we need to look at as a nation and get our people more exposed to the use of devices, computers, and much more technological advancements in mediums of communication and also passing information. Okay, so basically, because you look at it's actually the elites that use devices. So we need to find the way where we can bridge the gap, where the poor masses are not used to using devices. Are there ways of providing them affordable devices that they can also use in local schools, and all that? So that's something we need to look at. Research is how do we produce much more affordable devices, that they can use. I think it's Amazon that has, there are different devices. It mustn't be a computer. Okay, so but something that they can write on and also be able to communicate. So I feel a policy can come out of that, but it has to be backed by research to find out cost-effective ways of doing that, to help us eliminate importation of paper. I feel it's a waste. Even if we're going to have to use paper, we can actually try to produce some here locally instead of wasting our resources and dealing with the exchange rates and all that. Yeah.
The issue of importation of paper doesn't really translate to what is currently obtainable globally, where a lot of initiatives are being made for paperless, policies in private and public sectors. But you will understand that there are industries too who employ our people in that sector of paper. As much as we want to advocate that there should be less use of paper to conserve our environment, but we equally should look at our children, those in primary, secondary, even in tertiary institutions. They need paper, for their writing, paper to produce their textbooks and everything that is needed for them to acquire knowledge. Part of the policies that government can put is usage of more of computer systems in schools, so that instead of having people use paper to write so many things, they could acquire that knowledge of computer usage, get information, cloud it, and by so doing, you are saving the environment, because production of paper has a way of affecting the environment.
Today, our personality on Alumni Chat is Consultant Director of Corporate Affairs and Information Services at the Nigerian Army Resource Center, Abuja. I'm talking about Brigadier General Sani Kukasheka Usman, retired MNI. He retired from the Nigerian Army in February 2019 as the Director of Army Public Relations and spokesman for the Nigerian Army. General, thank you for joining us. We thank you for sparing time to talk to us today.
Thank you for having me on your program, and congratulations for this wonderful television program of our alma mater, the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies.
Thank you very much. Now, I know way back you were here as a participant. Can you tell us what your experience was when you were a participant?
I was a participant way back 2018. This is about 5 years ago. And being a military officer, then it wasn't much a challenge because given the experience and the courses I've attended, and of course, both within and outside the country. But the most important thing with that is something that I look forward to. It's a kind of lifetime ambition. And God, in His own infinite mercy, I was nominated. So I was super excited and I look forward to it. Unlike my contemporaries, they were nominated that they knew they were coming to the course about 3 or 4 months to the assembly. I got my nomination or got to know about my course barely less than 48 hours, because even that 48 hours, I was at the Northeast. In fact, specifically, the only 24 hours I had, I spent almost 12 hours in Sambisa Forest, precisely at Camp Zero. So you can imagine coming back, packing my luggages from Abuja, coming to Jos and to meet up with the inauguration of the course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been. So it was more or less a kind of challenge, but honestly, it is worth it. And most importantly, when you look at the knowledge gain, the experience, the friendship, you realize it's something that is worth it. So sincerely speaking, I think it is welcome. And but of course, there were some of these things. There is nothing in life that doesn't have a price tag. For you to be a member of the MNI, definitely you need to, you have to do certain things. Look at the programs, look at the schedules, meeting up with the deadline, the plenary and all the rest. And it was really exciting in the sense that no matter what, it brought out certain qualities in you and among your contemporaries, starting from this challenging career experience and the group work and so on and so forth. And of course, given the climatic condition in the plateau and many. And remember, again, we have had security challenges that time. And as a matter of fact, coming from the theater, it was a welcome relief to me, actually, and so wonderful. And honestly, I will encourage anybody that is eminently qualified to make sure that he or she had the benefit or the privilege of attending this prestigious institution. And you can see at the end of it all of us that have graduated, that are lucky to be alive, we are contributing meaningfully to national development in various endeavors of life. And I think that's the most important thing. And more so when you look at the uniqueness of NIPSS, in the sense that we have been through so many training programs, but this is a strategic one in the sense that you bring the various sector of the Nigerian society, both the public and private, as well as the security sector. And whoever that goes through that, he or she is positioned and eminently qualified to hold any, strategic public office in Nigeria.
Now, let's go to another aspect. What would be your reaction to the narrative that the ANI, that is your alumni association now, is an elitist group? How would you react to that?
Sometimes I will take it as a compliment. Why? Because, but on a serious note, it is not true. People tend to denigrate certain things simply because they are unable to make it. But I have had instances where people were asking question what it takes to be a member of ANI. And the qualifications are there. You just have to be at least 40 years old, and you must possess at least a good honors degree or equivalent. And you must be at, if you are serving at public servant in the federal ministry, you must be a director. If it is state, you must be a permanent secretary. If it is in the security forces, for the armed forces, you must be at the rank of colonel or equivalent in the Navy and Air Force. And for police, you must be a commissioner. And of course, the other security agencies, you must be a controller and so on. So automatically, is something that, you know, they said a fool at 40 is a fool forever. These are people that sometimes you do not even meet them, you don't even know them. Now, God, in His infinite mercy and the wisdom of the president and the country, brought you together. You know, it's a friendship that will last a lifetime. And for them to have come, most of these people have come a long way in life. They have paid, you know, their dues in their various field of endeavors. Some are professors, some are medical doctors, some are, you know, engineers, some, you know, they are even heads of other organizations. They bring in their wealth of experience and they subject themselves to, you know, the pedagogy in the institute. And you bring in various resources to have content to. And of course, NIPSS, it has its own manual in terms of conduct, in terms of writings, in terms of presentations and what have you, that is far above the standard of various institutions or organizations. So as such, people, you come up with fresh ideas with enthusiasm. So people look up to that because of lack of better words to say, they say it's elitist. Of course, it is elitist, so to speak, but at the same time, you are programmed in the sense that you can take up any appointment in this country or even beyond. So automatically, what else? So even if it is elitist, I'm very proud of it. But sincerely speaking, it is not true. It's just a group of Nigerians that are so determined to make Nigeria better, you know, going by the motto of it, towards a better society, contributing their best in any way they can. So it is not a question of elitism, but it's question of...
How impactful has the association, that's Annie now, been to the institute?
What did you say?
How impactful has the association, that is Annie, been to the National Institute?
Well, you know, it's more or less like mother and child, so to speak. Both Annie and NIPSS are family, but we look up to the institute because there wouldn't have been Annie had it been that there is no NIPSS. So being our alma mater, we look up to it, and we always have a cordial working relationship, impacting on each other, participating in all the activities, and taking, you know, paying attention and interest in what is going on. Take, for instance, even the screening of any senior executive members that are coming on senior executive courses, or the participants, so to speak. You know, Annie has input because there is a standard that has to be met based on laid down criteria. So there is a kind of, do I call it symbiotic relationship, but we respect the institute because without it, there wouldn't have been Annie. So it's more or less impacting each other. And thankfully, we have our colleagues and our highly respected directing staff that are there. And some of our colleagues are now even paying, you know, on our behalf that they are. Take, for instance, I have two of my coursemate who are now directing staffs, and of course, a colleague of mine who's also a directing staff. So you see, the relationship is impactable on both sides, and we strive hard to improve the relationship to make sure that we contribute towards the development of each of them, both the NIPSS and, of course, the Alumni Association of the National Institute.
Okay, now, General, as Consultant Director of Corporate Affairs and Information Services at the Nigerian Army Resource Center, Abuja, your schedule is a very busy one. In fact, we're lucky to have you for this interview. How do you unwind?
Well, it may also interest you to know, apart from the consultancy here at the Nigerian Army Resource Center, I'm a fellow and a council member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. And of course, I'm on board of so many non-governmental organizations and media organizations. So it is always a Herculean task. And for whatever reason, I've always have, you know, media appearances and lecture presentations and so on. So it wasn't, I mean, it is not that easy. However, somewhere along the line, you know that you're only good when you're healthy and alive. So I realized the importance of being, you know, both physically and medically fit. So I take time to really unwind by, listening to music, reading also. Sometimes it helps me, and of course, playing golf. And I like to walk also and travel. So in most instances, sometimes I unwind. But I have a good wife and supportive family. Being with them, keeping the social, the telephone and all the rest, just being with the family also helps me a lot. We go out, have lunch, have dinner, as the case may be, or even travel. So really, those are the kind of thing that really helps me in unwinding myself.
All right. Now, in the journey of life, we have so many experiences, sometimes happy ones and sometimes sad ones. Now, what would be your high moments and your low moments that really stand out?
Life is a mixture of both high and lows. I've had my own fair share of them, and we don't even know what life has in store for us because one is still alive and healthy. And I said, well, one of the lowest moments was when I lost loved ones. I could remember, my best friend Bishir, and of course my grandparents, when they died. But of course, one of the high points I talked about. Being nominated to attend the NIPSS itself, and because I look forward to it, and sincerely speaking, I remain eternally grateful. So it's one of those, and the latest being the fact that when I became a grandfather and a certified old man. so
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you so much.
Now, what is your philosophy of life?
Well, I just believe that everything in life has a price tag. People should be conscious of whatever they do, it has consequences, either for good or for bad. So people should not assume. And sincerely speaking, I believe in that philosophy. And I just believe in working hard to the best of my ability and live every.
What is your philosophy of life?
Commend them, particularly the leadership, and to continue to do the best. The impact they are making by training, the participants, honestly, is unquantifiable. So I would rather thank them more sincerely and encourage them and pray for them and wish them all the best, including the participants that are.
Thank you so much, Brigadier General Sani Kukasheka Usman, retired MNI. Thank you for sharing your time with us and your insight. We really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. It's a great honor and pleasure for me to be on this very important program. Thank you, and keep on doing the good work.
Thank you indeed. That was Brigadier General Sani Kukasheka Usman, retired MNI. We hope you enjoyed that chat. We still have more on the program. Don't go away. Stay with us.
The Director General, NIPSS, Professor Ayo Omotayo, paid a familiarization visit to Government Science and Technical College, Bukuru, and Government Secondary School, Wok, respectively, within Kuru community. The visit, first of its kind, had in attendance the Professor Choji Ibrahim MNI, heads of departments, and other staff of the National Institute. Speaking at the event, the DG said the purpose of the visit was to familiarize and support capacity building in tertiary institutions within the community and the educational sector at large.
We want you to see NIPSS as a big or as a father to your institution and as an institute that is ever willing to be supportive to your school. We do not know what needs you have. We are not here to make donations or stuff like that. We just want to familiarize ourselves with the leadership and hopefully with the students. And then we look around and say, okay, what can we do to support the school in either way or some other ways?
The president, Bukuru Old Students Association, BOSA, Mr. Dung John, while expressing gratitude over the visit, stated that the school, which was established in 1952, is saddled with the mandate of equipping students with skilled manpower. He also called for the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the institution and NIPSS.
The consideration of MOU of going into with the school to see if, like the plumbing department or automobile department, if there's a partnership that the student can be engaged, I think that will go a long way. So I would really appreciate that.
In the same manner, the delegation led by the DG proceeded to Government Secondary School, WOC. While receiving the delegation, the principal of the Government Secondary School, WOC, said the school is privileged to be among the schools that were visited and also called the DG's attention to some crucial needs of the institution.
So we want to officially welcome you to this environment, and most of all, we want to say thank you for considering us. If you look at our infrastructure, it is calling for intervention. Government come in to tell us we are going to do this and that. At the end of the day, they will tell us the resources are scarce. So we cannot do anything. The school environment is even porous. We have the need for first, and resources are not even there for us to do that. Then apart from other crucial needs, like we offer sciences here, but we don't have standard laboratories for current learning. I'm just giving you the way it is so that you choose whichever you want to intervene.
Chana Ejoga, reporting for NIPSS Policy TV.
Fresh. It's all about policies and strategies. Watch out for NIPSS Policy TV programs on NTA News 24. Tune in on Mondays, Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. on DSTV Channel 419, GoTV Channel 26, Star Times Channels 101 and 433, and Free TV Channel 703. Miss this and miss out on policies that will affect you and our country. Join us.
Through the implementation of the policy framework, Nigeria aimed to establish a sustainable and self-sufficient paper production industry. The government's goal was to reduce dependence on imported paper products, create employment opportunities, conserve the environment, and contribute to the country's economic growth and development. That's our package on Policy Focus today. Thank you for watching. Join us next time. I am Chana Ejoga. Bye for now.